everybody, this is your Director of Transfer and Student Veteran Success, back for another session of OK State Transfer Talks. Today, I am here with Dr. Leon McClinton. He is our Director of Housing and Residential Life. He is currently the president of ACUHO-I, and he was really enjoying that job and getting to work with all of his peers from across the nation and the world. Gets to do a lot of traveling with that, so I'm sure he might talk about that a little bit and some of the really pivotal experiences he's had in that role. He holds his PhD in educational leadership, a master's degree in human resource development, and a Bachelor of Science in textile management from Clemson University. He has worked in university and housing and residential life for over 28 years. That is quite a career, Mr. McClinton, Dr. McClinton. That is amazing.
Thank you.
He provided leadership for one of the largest residential life programs in the United States, encompassing over 9,000 students and 47 residence halls. That is a no-joke job. That's amazing. While working at Virginia Tech, and currently he directs the Housing and Residential Life program here, which has 5,500 on-campus students and 26 on-campus residential communities, with 6 Family First apartment neighborhoods and overall supervisory responsibilities for 20 professional staff, 20 graduate assistants, and 320 undergraduate student staff members at Oklahoma State University. Those are some pretty amazing accomplishments, Dr. McClinton, and I am so excited to have this opportunity to talk to you and to have our students hear from you and hear all about all of the great things that happen in housing and residential life here at Oklahoma State University. Now that we've gotten past the introductions, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you've chosen to work in higher education and more specifically in housing and residential life?
Yes, Cheryl, first of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of this program. I think it's very innovative on your part to provide this setting, and I hopefully our students, our prospective students, our transfer students will appreciate the work that you're doing in this. Again, Cheryl, like you said, 28 years. Thanks for acknowledging the amount of time I spent in this field. It's been very rewarding. I can think through when I first started in the 90s to now, and definitely I think in general our students are it's more complex. I mean, we deal with a lot of different issues compared to 30 years ago, and but I think that our industry continues to evolve. We continue to do research. We continue to be innovative to hopefully address the latest needs and latest trends of our students. So you mentioned me being president of ACUHO-I, which is the Association of College and University Housing Officers International, and feel very honored to be serving in that capacity. So my colleagues, my peers throughout the entire world elected me to be in this role, and so I've been able to do some traveling. Last September 2022, I was able to go to South Africa and actually work with housing professionals in South Africa and help them learn or teach or train them on how to connect and facilitate student engagement with students in South Africa. So just a unique experience there. And then just under 3 weeks ago, I was in Australia, looking at residence halls in Australia, and again conversing and trying to understand best practices, in that country. And then I'm very fortunate in a month I'll be in Barcelona, Spain, to also do some of the same, looking at some different residence halls and talking to professionals over there to see how they connect and help make a living learning experience positive for their students over there. So Cheryl, I think I did not answer all of your question there. So if you don't mind repeating it, I'll try to answer that.
Well, the only part of that question that you didn't answer is why? What was it for you that made you decide, you know what, I'm going to go into student affairs, I'm going to work in housing and residential life, and I'm going to make this commitment to helping students succeed on campus at our universities? Yes,
I love that question, Cheryl. Definitely, it was not something that was planned when I went to college. And we find that most professionals that end up in student affairs do not go to college thinking, I'm going to be a student affairs professional, or I'm going to work in housing. I grew up in a household with educators. My parents were both teachers. They both had advanced degrees. So I came, entered college with parents understanding the rigors and struggles of what collegiate life can be. But I started off with a 1.0 my first semester, 1.0, and just overwhelmed with the collegiate experience. I was very shy, just struggled to fit in. In my second semester, I made a 1.6. And so not much better. So I was academically suspended after my first year. And so my dad took that summer after my first year and went through the academic catalog and found some classes that I could make A's in, such as racquetball, athletic injuries, tennis, several classes I could make A's in to get back in for my sophomore year. And I did. And so matured a little bit, did a little bit better in my classes. But during my sophomore year, well, let me back up. So my first year and second year, I lived with the RA, the resident assistant. And so during my second year, the RA said, "Why don't you apply to be an RA? You're always here. You seem to be responsible." And I said, "I would love to be an RA. How do you go about doing that?" And he says, "Well, you interview for it." And I said, "I'm not interviewing for anything. That sounds like the most terrifying thing that any person could ever do on the face of the earth. I'm not doing that." And so I come back my junior year. My roommate, the RA, did not come back. And so his supervisor stopped by my place and says, "Would you be interested in being the RA?" And so I took the job. And I tell you, that first weekend, I got a call. And the call was, there's a party happening at the end of the road on my street. And I had to go address it. At that very moment, at that particular time, when I got that call and heard what was happening, I thought I had the most important job on the entire campus. I went to my bedroom, I got my clipboard, my incident report form, my name tag, and went down to that party and talked to the residents that were responsible and says, "This cannot continue." And so then and there, I felt like I created a sense of belonging at the university. It took almost 3 years for that to happen. And so I found my niche on the campus. I finally had a community of peers, and just loved what I did, and was able to get a graduate student position to continue to do that, to supervise RAs. And said, "This is what I want to do. I'm an educator like my parents, but it's just in a different way." And so I applied for a full-time job after my master's degree, and just stayed in it. And so housing, Cheryl, I can tell you that every day is different. I'm doing this, which is something I enjoy, but I could be in a few hours or tomorrow really talking about some maintenance challenges that we're having with some of our facilities. Or I'm talking to an academic colleague about a particular living learning program, and how can we enhance that, or how can we help get all of our students involved. Or I could be dealing with a student that's having a major mental health crisis. So there's just so much that happens in housing and residential life, and it keeps me busy. So that's how I got into it, and it's been very rewarding, and over the 30-year career.
Your story is somewhat similar to mine. I was a transfer student. I did San Diego City Community College while I was still in the military. And then when I went to my undergraduate, I was 26 years old, and I lived in the dorms with an 18 and 19-year-old. And we had the classic dorm room, bunk beds, mini fridge, no real kitchen, shared bathroom. It was at 26, it was quite the experience. And one of the first connections that I made was with my then director of housing and residential life, Chakoti McNiven, who I'm still in contact with today.
Oh, okay.
And it was through my interactions with him and with my dean of students, actually, who truly made me feel welcome on campus. And he was the one who said, "Have you thought about, we have this apartment complex. Do you want to be our person over this apartment complex?" And that's how I made it through my undergraduate, was working in housing and residential life. And then after I graduated, I continued working in housing and residential life as part of the Art Institute. But really, when you say you kind of fall into it, you kind of fall into it.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
It was those pivotal connections that I made as an undergraduate student with my dean of students and with my director of housing and residential life who helped me decide that I wanted to be that person for students in the future.
Exactly. But sure, I did not realize. So this is another reason why I'm glad we're doing this program, to learn more about your background. Thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely. So with transfer students, it can be challenging to come to a new city, a new campus, and find that sense of belonging. So what about living on campus? Why would you recommend living on campus to a transfer student? And then, especially when we think about our transfer students who have other outside life obligations, they're married, they have kids, etc. What are the options for them? What does that look like for our transfer students?
Yeah. And Cheryl, if for some reason my response misses part of your question or one of your questions, please don't hesitate to follow up with me. But I think there are numerous reasons for transfer students to live on campus. I think in some ways, some transfer students can face similar challenges as first-year students. And so there is a lot of research, a lot of scientific research that supports first-year students and second-year students to live on campus, because we see that they have a higher GPA, they have a higher retention rate versus their peers that are living off campus. And we know that when these first-year and second-year students are put in a setting where it's easier to develop friendships and relationships, and research shows that if a college student can develop 3 to 4 deep relationships, it's going to have a positive impact long term. And so when you think about a transfer student, they're also new to this environment. They are just new to trying to navigate the nuances of a college campus. And so we think that being on campus, living on campus, and being closely connected or living with a staff member in our department can help ease some of that stress. We all know, even if you're in your 3rd year of college and you've been in that institution for 3 or 4 years, there's still moments that you can be stressful. So just imagine a student that's coming to a new environment where it's just the stress is compounded. So I think that we want our transfer students to live on campus. And in regards to where to live, we're very fortunate at Oklahoma State University, where we have a variety of living options. So within single student housing, we have traditional halls where you have a building where pretty much there's a room with 2 beds, and then you go down the hall to access the bathroom and take showers and all that. But we also have suites where the bathrooms are in those suites, and then we have apartments, all available for undergraduate students. But we've been very fortunate during my time to extend or be able to increase the number of family and graduate student housing apartments. And so they're very affordable. I will tell you up front that they're not the prettiest aesthetically, but they're in high demand. And I think one of the reasons for that is that they're very affordable. I think another reason is that the leadership in that community has done a great job of building community. People want to be part of a community, want to be around friendly people that are going to socialize with them, and that community thrives in that area. And so for our transfer students, I want you to know that in family and graduate student housing, for many years you had to be part of a family or be a graduate student. But during my 8 years as director here, we have definitely provided many apartments for our undergraduate students. So if that's an option for you, if you have children too, that is a great community. We have after school programs for our kids, and other programs for the kids that live in FGSH, family graduate student housing.
So you talked a little bit about the community that is built in our residence halls, especially how important that is for that sense of belonging. Can you tell us a little bit more about these living learning communities, and are those open to transfer students?
right now, Cheryl, we do not have a living learn. Okay, let me back up. For living learning, so living learning programs are special interest housing programs, and we have 12 to 14 of those right now, and they are built and designed. The ultimate goal is to try to make the transition into OSU easier. We know that if your housing experience is positive, then other areas can be positively impacted by that. And so living learning communities can be designed around academics. It can be designed around personal interest or hobbies. So I'll give you an example. So we have a live and learning community for the College of Engineering, Architecture, and Technology. And so students that are in that college, that are majoring in that college, all live together in one building. And so there are programs and events that happen for those students. And oftentimes they are very advanced with their programming, that some of the programming will supplement or support some of the work that happens in the classroom. And so it's really neat to see that. But we have one that's called Outdoor Adventures, where some students live together. It's a smaller community, about 10 students, and they live together to think about and create opportunities to do outdoor recreation together throughout the semester, throughout the year. Would love to, moving forward, would love to have a community for transfer students. We do not have one, but I will tell you that I have colleagues at other institutions throughout the country where you see that model. And so we would love to sit down, sit around the table and really create a curriculum that will support transfer students. We'll tell you that we're in a period right now, which is great, that there's a high demand of living on campus, but we have vacancies now. So I'm confident, Cheryl, that we can come together and create a live and learning community for transfer students. I know that you and I have talked off and on about that, but I'm ready to make it happen. I think there's a strong need. I think that when we think about retention rates with transfer students, I definitely think having a live and learning program or intentionality around a community for transfer students can really have a positive impact on retention for this community. So I will tell you that our current live and learning programs, the majority of them, I think almost all of them, are freshman based, first year based. However, again, open to having more live and learn communities that will support non-first year students.
I think that would be fantastic to continue our discussions. I know you and I have talked about this quite a bit and what that could look like, and figuring out exactly how that model will work. And I'm excited to see, to hear more about your experiences with your colleagues from across the country and across the world about what they're doing for non-traditional and transfer students within their communities. Because I think that'll play a part into how successful that could be. If you are a transfer student and you are interested in a living learning community and you want to have a voice in its creation, feel free to reach out to Dr. McClinton or myself, and we will definitely talk through that with you. We would love to have the student voice be a part of that building process.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So when students live off campus, they often have bills like electricity, internet, water, and trash. And the cost of living obviously affects a student's ability to be successful, because when there's financial stress, there's academic stress. When there's financial stress, there's mental stress. So for students living in our residence halls, what does that look like for them? And are the prices of our residence halls, when you take into account the other areas that are around, the other like apartment complexes, et cetera, that are around OSU, I mean, is it more beneficial for students to live on campus with those things? Is it a comparable price? What does that actually look like?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. We do some benchmarking about every other year in regards to our off-campus competitors, and we also look at how we compare to institutions that are similar to ours in the region, such as, in Oklahoma and Arkansas and Kansas and Iowa. I can tell you, when we look at other institutions, we are definitely very affordable, when we compare ourselves to other institutions of our similar of a similar profile. When it comes to off campus in Stillwater, um, it's a wide range. It's a wide range. I will tell you, going into the fall of 2022, um, we were a little bit surprised with the number of non-freshmen wanting to live on campus. And then we discovered that it was a national trend. There were several articles being written nationally about a lot of college students were being pushed back to on-campus living in college towns because the local rates, off-campus rates, had skyrocketed, and so it was causing a major housing crisis on many college campuses. So I'm going to take that as an indicator that our rates are very comparable to what you find off campus, and so we do have where it's just you are charged per semester, and utilities, electricity, all that is included in one package. So it's not itemized like you have to do off campus. I'll also throw in a plug for the students that are listening and watching this program, that I'm very, very proud to tell you that we implemented a new Wi-Fi system this past summer. We invested over $1 million into this system, this infrastructure, and the students are absolutely loving this Wi-Fi system. Prior to this year, we were getting reports that if too many students get on, then the signal drops, or they don't have access to the internet. And we know today, internet access is almost as important as having food and water. And so I went to our Residence Hall Association, students that are the voice for students live on campus, just last Monday, a week ago. And the response was they are just so pleased to have it. We had one student say, last year my TV was a dumb TV. This year it's a smart TV. And so really good, because they, sometimes the conversations can be, pretty just, a lot of constructive criticism. So it was great to get that positive feedback from our students over a week ago. So that's another reason. And we have the state-of-the-art Wi-Fi infrastructure here. And another thing about that is that you can log in 10 devices at one time if you live on campus. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say without actually saying it is living on campus is very comparable to living off campus, and you don't have the added stress of receiving bills from utility companies, from Wi-Fi and different things like that, because it's all inclusive.
Absolutely.
That is fantastic. I've heard you mention a lot residential assistants, and you and I both served in those type of roles when we were in college. Are those student leadership opportunities open to transfer students, and what are the perks?
100% open to transfer students. And we're always looking for students that want to take pride in being a role model for their peers. They want to serve. I just also want to share, I've been the last couple of years been trying to figure out how can we as a department be a little bit more proactive in this mental health crisis. And so research says that when people are serving others, giving to others, that impacts their outlook on life in a positive way. And so we're looking for students that want to serve others, because this is a serving role. I share with our students every year, our student staff every year, that we've got about probably 20% of our students live on campus that need some additional support, some hand holding. And it's our job to identify that 20% and make sure we create that support system for them. And so transfer students, if you're interested in that, please let us know. There is a class now. There's a leadership class that you have to take prior to becoming, we call them community mentors on our campus, prior to becoming a CM. And it's an 8-week class. And so we talk about leadership, how to create a sense of belonging for our students, and some other key areas that will help you be successful in the job. We know that having students go through 8 weeks, it gives us a better indication of the type of person they are. Back in the old days, if you were interested in this position, you go through a 30-minute interview and maybe a 1-hour group exercise, and we determine if we think that you're going to really have a positive impact with these students. But the 8-week class, we think is a very thorough assessment of our students.
So when it comes to the perks, if
Oh,
you're
perks.
chosen,
Yes, yes. So thank you for reminding me of that. So the perks, you get this free room and board. You get your own room and you get a meal plan. Is what you do. And so the student, no stipend, and but the students really, I think, appreciate having the free room and meal plan.
so yes, transfer students, if you're worried about the cost of living on campus, you have an option to where you could have free room and board by giving back to other students.
Absolutely.
So living in residence halls can be challenging. There's a lot of different things that happen. Many of our transfer students are older, they're non-traditional students. They may have relationships with other students who they're not married to. So are students allowed to live in the same room as students with a different gender identity? Could a transfer student, for instance, who's engaged, live with their fiance?
Yeah. So unfortunately, we don't allow that, Cheryl, and so unfortunately, we do not. You have to be married, and so if you're married, then we will allow. Well, we have settings for that. FGSH, as I mentioned earlier, family and graduate student housing. We have many examples of where people are married and live there. But engaged, unfortunately, we're not there as a department. So
Thank you for that information.
yeah.
Which brings up the next question. What items, what things are restricted from the residence halls? What things are just not allowed?
Well, that's a great question, and we get that question all the time during orientation, and I am going to share a few examples with you. Okay, so for instance, air conditioners are not allowed. Large amplifiers, halogen lamps, these Ring doorbells or doorbells where they have cameras on them. That's not allowed. Portable outdoor grills, fireworks, explosives, weapons such as BB guns, paintball guns, large knives, swords, crossbows. Those type of items are there. So as you've probably already noticed, I'm reading from a list, and so we have a very comprehensive list on our website. If you could type in what to bring and what not to bring at Oklahoma State University, and you'll find a comprehensive list on that information there. So,
That would be a great tool for our students.
yeah.
Next question I have is, a lot of our transfer students are 100% online. Are 100% online students allowed to live in housing? Do they have that option?
Well, as of right now, we want you. No, right now we expect our students to have on campus, or have some classes on campus. However, we are in a position right now that we have vacancies. And so if there's a student that says that I am enrolled, but my classes are online, we will allow you to live on campus. And usually it's the other way around. So that's why I was hesitant on that. My classes are all my classes are online, so I don't want to live on campus. But if they want to live on campus, we have a space for them. Absolutely.
Which brings me to my next question. In this time of increased inflation, increased cost of living, many of our students may experience housing insecurity. Are there options where your office can potentially help with temporary housing if a student finds themselves unhoused for some reason out in the community?
Mm. Yes, yes, we do. And we've had that happen a few times, Cheryl. It's very unfortunate, but we're not going to turn our back on a student that doesn't have housing. And so what we'll do is we'll provide a temporary space for them, and we'll work with the bursar and hopefully arrange a system where there's a deferred payment if there needs to be, or there may be some emergency funds that we have access to take care of that. But yes, we will definitely help people that or help students that need some temporary housing for emergency purposes. Absolutely.
Thank you. That's fantastic to hear. So outside of housing and residential life, I always like to ask as well, if you could offer any piece of advice to any student who attends OSU, or really any student that's going to college, what would that advice be?
Well, the reason I'm hesitating is because I think I have three. I'm trying to figure out which one would be the most important one. I think that it depends on who you are, but I think, I want to say two things. I want to say two. So I'm sorry. I'm going to say two. One is to definitely. I mentioned earlier about the relationships and having 2 to 3 strong relationships with people, because the reason that's so important is that when you face a challenging time, or when you're in a situation where you just feel like, oh my gosh, things are so hard for me right now, to be able to call up that friend at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. or to, just to have an extended conversation can help calm you down and help you get through those situations. So really look out and try to identify a few relationships that can really be strong and in-depth, because you'll need those at some point. The other one is more thinking about my experience as a first-year student, and that is with your classes, don't and it's so easy to say this, you've probably heard it before, but don't let the work pile up. Keep up with your classes. You have a class and you probably got a break before your next class. Use that break to prepare for your upcoming class or to review the class that you just left. Don't do what I did as a first semester student, and that is between your breaks, go take a nap in the library. And, so trying to, because if you do that, the classes in most cases are not too hard. But what's hard is trying to keep up with your work on a daily basis. And I encourage you to do that.
Thank you, Dr. McClinton. You have been so insightful and in a lot of ways very inspiring as well. Hearing your personal story and how you overcame those challenges. I mean, that's huge because our students are going to face challenges. They're not going to be straight A students all of the time. And it's hard to maintain that. And I do want to reiterate that building those relationships, like Dr. McClinton said, is so important. I mean, honestly, I probably would not have made it through my undergraduate if I hadn't had those relationships with my housing staff and with the Dean of Students office and with the people that I interacted with. I was very lucky that I had people who saw me for me, and I didn't feel so much like an imposter at the end of my time at my undergraduate institution. I really felt like I belonged there, and I still have a great deal of loyalty to that institution because of that experience. And I know that's what we strive for here at Oklahoma State University as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Cheryl, I have always enjoyed working with you. You're an inspiration to me, and I think this is a great program that you have, and it inspires me to try to come up with something similar for a different group. So thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. I always like to end my sessions on a smile. I ask my guests to, share something, a fun fact or a joke or something. What do you have for us today, Dr. McClinton?
Well, I will tell you. That's easy. I tell you, I haven't done it in a while and I miss it, but I have my own drum and I love a good drum circle. I love a good drum circle. For the people that don't know what a drum circle, you have a drum, you have a ton of people around, and you just beat, and you have the same beat, and maybe have a few people in the circle that are dancing. And to me, it's just free spirited, and I just love doing that, and haven't done it in quite some time. So hopefully, the next year or so, I'll have a chance to participate in a drum circle.
That sounds like a very broad hint to our transfer students who might be interested in something similar. Go hit up Dr. McClinton about that drum circle, because that does sound like a lot of fun.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Thank you again, Dr. McClinton. I have enjoyed our time here on this session. And as always, to all of our students, go Pokes.
Go Pokes.